You are born in a private clinic on the outskirts of Culiacan, Sinaloa. There are no congratulations cards, no balloons. 15 armed men stand outside the delivery room, rotating shifts every 4 hours. Your mother holds you under a ceiling stained yellow by cigarette smoke and tropical humidity. She whispers your name, but only once. From this point forward, you will be known by a different name in every city, every document, every safe house. Your father is not present. So he hasn't been in the same building as your mother for 3 weeks. Security protocol. But within the hour, a photograph of your face is driven across state lines in a lead-lined briefcase, delivered to a man sitting in a mansion built on a hill that overlooks an entire valley of poppy fields. That man, your father, is the most wanted drug lord on the Western Hemisphere, and you, newborn, still wet from the womb, are already worth $12 million on the kidnapping market. Welcome to your life. You didn't choose it, and you will never be allowed to leave it. Your childhood looks, on the surface, like paradise. You grow up on a 200-acre estate in rural Durango. A compound, really, though no one calls it that. There are horses, a private zoo with 2 Bengal tigers, an Olympic-sized swimming pool with mosaic tiles imported from Morocco. Your bedroom is bigger than most apartments. You have every toy ever made, every console, yet every pair of sneakers before they hit shelves. But you also notice things. You notice that the gardener carries a radio and a Glock under his apron. You notice that every car that enters the property is checked with mirrors on poles. Underneath, doors, trunk. You notice that your mother never answers the phone after sunset, and that the windows in your bedroom are 3 inches thick. At age 6, you ask your mother why you can't go to school like the kids on television. Yet she looks at you with eyes that carry something heavier than sadness, something closer to resignation, and says, "Because the world outside loves you too much." You don't understand it then. You will. At age 8, you meet your father for the first time that you can actually remember. He arrives by helicopter, a black Eurocopter that lands on the north field and scatters the horses. He is shorter than you imagined, quiet. He holds your face in his hands and studies you the way a jeweler examines a diamond, not with love exactly, but with appraisal, with investment. He gives you a gold chain with a small medallion of San Judas Tadeo, the patron saint of lost causes. "Never take this off," he says. You don't know it yet, but every man in the organization wears one. It is not jewelry, it is identification. At age 10, something changes. It's you are watching cartoons in the media room when you hear a sound that doesn't belong. A rapid, rhythmic popping, like fireworks but sharper. The bodyguard stationed outside your door rushes in, pushes you into a closet, and tells you to count to 500. You count to 500 3 times before anyone comes back. When you emerge, there are new bullet holes in the east wall of the compound, and 2 of the gardeners you used to wave at every morning are gone. Not fired. Gone. No one explains. No one apologizes. Your mother simply moves your bedroom to the west wing, further from the perimeter. That night, for the first time, you understand. You are not living in a home. You are living in a fortress. And the walls are not there to keep the world out. They are there to keep you in. At 13, your education begins. Not the kind with textbooks and exams, but the kind that teaches you how empires survive. Your father sends a man called El Contador, the accountant. Yet he is 63 years old, wears bifocals, and has the demeanor of a retired professor. He has also laundered over $9 billion in the last 2 decades and has never spent a single day in prison. El Contador teaches you the architecture of money. He explains that the cartel does not sell drugs. Not really. It sells oranges. That's the metaphor he uses. Imagine you are in the orange business, he says, drawing diagrams on a whiteboard in a windowless room beneath the main house. Yeah, you grow oranges in the south. You transport oranges north. You sell oranges in every city. But the government doesn't like oranges, so you need to make the money from oranges look like it came from lemonade. He teaches you about shell companies registered in Panama, real estate purchases in Miami and Vancouver, construction firms that build roads that no one drives on, restaurants that are always full on paper but empty in person. He shows you how a single dollar bill can cross 7 borders and 4 currencies before it lands, clean, in a Swiss account. At 15, your father gives you your first weapon, not a gun, but a satellite phone with 3 numbers programmed into it. One connects to a lawyer in Mexico City, one connects to a logistics coordinator in Guatemala, one connects to your father directly, and he tells you to only use it if someone is about to die, meaning you. At 16, you attend your first board meeting. It takes place in a villa on the coast of Nayarit. 12 men sit around a dining table eating lobster and drinking clase azul. These men control territory, supply chains, and, functionally, entire state governments. They speak in code. They refer to shipments as furniture, to assassinations as deliveries, to informants as leaks in the roof. You sit at the end of the table and say nothing. Your job, for now, is to watch, to learn the faces, to memorize who reaches for their phone when a certain name is mentioned. At 17, yet you are sent to a private university in Monterey under a false identity. You study business administration, you drive a modest car, you wear normal clothes. For 8 months, you live something that feels almost like a real life. You make a friend, a classmate named Diego who likes football and bad horror movies. One evening, over cheap beer on a rooftop, Diego asks you what your father does. You say, import-export. He laughs and says, sounds boring. You laugh too, and for a moment, you forget what you are. That moment ends 3 weeks later when a black SUV pulls up outside your apartment at 4 a.m. Your father's head of security, a man you've known since childhood, a man who taught you to ride a horse, sits in the back seat. He tells you that Diego's uncle is a federal prosecutor, that Diego may not know, but the risk is the risk. You never see Diego again. You are told he was relocated. You choose to believe that means he is alive. You will never find out. And at 18, you are brought home. Your formal education is over. Your real education, the one that will determine whether you live past 30, is about to begin. At 19, you are given your first responsibility, oversight of a single corridor, a 400-kilometer smuggling route that runs from the Sierra Madre to a warehouse outside Nogales. You don't touch product, you don't drive trucks, you manage people. You are the invisible hand that ensures that 14 drivers, 6 lookouts, 2 mechanics, and 1 corrupt border official all do their jobs on time every time, and you are good at it, better than anyone expected, because unlike the men who rose through violence, you rose through education. You understand spreadsheets and supply chain logistics. You know that the cartel's biggest enemy is not the DEA, it is inefficiency. You cut transit times by 30%. You renegotiate a bribery arrangement that saves $2 million a year. Your father, for the first time, looks at you not with appraisal, but with something that resembles pride. At 21, you are promoted. You now oversee 3 corridors and a money laundering network that operates through a chain of car washes in Arizona and a seafood distribution company in Texas. You have a team, you have a budget, you have an armored Range Rover and a penthouse in Guadalajara with bulletproof windows and a panic room behind the bookshelf. You also have insomnia. You develop a habit of checking security cameras on your phone at 3 a.m. You start noticing which of your men hesitate before answering questions. You begin categorizing everyone around you, not as friends or enemies, but as assets and liabilities. At 22, you witness your first betrayal from the inside. A man named Ramon, a lieutenant who has been with the organization for 15 years, a man who attended your baptism, is discovered to have been feeding information to a rival cartel. You are not told in advance. You are summoned to a ranch outside Mazatlan, and when you arrive, Ramon is on his knees in a concrete room. Your father is not there. He never is for these things. But his order is clear, relayed through the head of security. Let your son see how we maintain trust. You watch. You do not participate, but you stand in that room for 11 minutes, and when you leave, the person who walks out is not the same person who walked in. Something has been removed from you. Something you will spend years trying to name but never will. Call it innocence. Call it the last thread connecting you to the version of yourself that once counted to 500 in a closet and believed the world was just noisy. At 23, your father is arrested. It happens at dawn during a coordinated operation involving 3 agencies and 2 governments. You receive the news via the satellite phone, the one he gave you at 15. A lawyer's voice, calm, clinical. The old man is in a cage. You are now the voice. You are not the leader. The organization is too large, too decentralized for a single heir to command. But you are the bloodline, and in this world, blood is currency. And the 12 men from the Nayarit villa now call you for decisions. Shipments worth hundreds of millions depend on your word. Governors and generals who once spoke to your father now speak to you, and their respect is thin. A veneer of courtesy stretched over a foundation of calculation. They are all asking the same silent question. Is the sun strong enough, or is it time to find a new arrangement? At 24, you survive your first assassination attempt, a car bomb, and while parked outside a restaurant in Zapopan, your driver, a 26-year-old father of 2, is killed. You walk away with a ruptured eardrum and a scar across your left shoulder that will never fully heal. You spend 2 weeks in a safe house in the mountains, surrounded by men with rifles, replaying the explosion in your mind on a loop. You realize, with absolute clarity, that you will never grow old. Not in this life. The math doesn't work. Every year you survive is a statistical anomaly. At 25, you sit alone in a room in that mountain safe house, and you consider your options. You could cooperate, contact the DEA, offer testimony, enter witness protection, become a ghost with a new name in a town no one has heard of. You could run, disappear to Southeast Asia, South America, some corner of the world where the cartel's reach thins out, or you could stay. You could continue to be your father's son, the heir to an empire that runs on blood and silence. You look at the gold chain around your neck, San Judas Tadeo, the patron saint of lost causes. You stay. Here is what no one tells you about the golden cage. It doesn't feel like a cage at first. It feels like privilege. It feels like power. It feels like being chosen. And by the time you realize what it actually is, by the time you feel the bars pressing against your ribs, you've already become part of the structure. You are not a prisoner of the cage. You are a load-bearing wall. You cannot leave because leaving would collapse the only architecture you have ever known. And so you stay. Not because you are brave, not because you are loyal, but because the cage has become your skeleton. Remove it, and you don't know what shape you would take. Remove it, and you might find out that without the name, without the empire, without the blood, you are no one. And that, more than any bullet or betrayal, is the thing that keeps you exactly where you are. Yet you will be collected. Not in money, but in will be collected. Not in money, but in time. In years you will never get back. In a version of yourself you will never meet. In every door you walked past, but never opened, because opening it would have meant admitting that everything your father built, everything you maintained, was not worth the price. But you don't open the door, you never do. You adjust the chain around your neck, you answer the satellite phone, and you continue, because that is what sons do.